get right into it, man. So one of the reasons that we've always loved talking to you is you like nuts and bolts, and all
Yep.
off season there's kind of been this sentiment, right, with the loss of Nebraska's bigs up front, and this odd front versus even, and how to fit in the run game, and is Nebraska big enough? Like it has been
A lot.
a lot, especially
Yeah.
with new offensive, inexperienced defensive line play, right? And so there are a couple of things that Coach Rule said that where you chimed in right away, and I was like, "Yep, that's the perfect dude to talk to." You played in a two gap system, like bracket coverage, you understand philosophies. You heard movement front, and you responded to me right away. Hey, listen, man, if they get into some one high, this, that, I'm like, we're talking, right? We got to talk to MRI. Walk us through a little bit some of the differences in fronts and how to get there relative to how you think Nebraska wants to defend the run against a mobile quarterback tomorrow night.
I think when you said it, and you retweeted, the explosive movements. My first thought is obviously, the structure of what they have. Let's just talk it frame wise, right? Still kind of fits a little bit of that, 3-3 front a little bit, right? You got some hybrid linebackers, guys that can play in the box on the line of scrimmage. You got some defensive linemen that can, stay play in a 5-2 gap, but also shade inside in the 4 eye to really take away the B gaps. But just looking at just kind of going into Butler's, just history, where he's been in the NFL, a lot of places been 4-man fronts, 4 down base stuff. Um, what I initially see is I could see them, starting in 3-man fronts, and like you talk about explosive fronts, being a 3-man front, starting head up, however you want to look at it. But then at the end of the day, the picture looks like an under front, right? It looks like the B gap bubble is now to the
What we
field,
do.
right?
It's
Right,
what we
yeah,
do.
right.
Our
Just like
front. It's
and I guess the technical football term would be reduction fronts. That's kind of what it is, right? You're going to start in a 3-man. You're going to work to over. You're going to work to under, and I can really see this defensive line really, um, flourishing in that type of system. But also the linebackers. I think these are fast downhill linebackers. I think these are guys that are going to play tough in the A gaps, play tough in the B gaps, and also be able to force that ball back inside and not letting it get outside the C gap. So when you talk about fronts and movements, I think they're going to be moving a lot. I think they're going to use several bodies. I think you can see some unique stuff. I definitely do see though some implementation of 4-man, and if it gets comfortable, they get comfortable with it, and it starts to be something they use. Because even last year, you really look at Nebraska. Obviously the 3-3 stat kind of gets the initial talking points, but when you really break down and look at it, they were in 4-man quite a bit. They were
oh,
in 4-man. I want to say 50-50. If I really went back and looked at it, it's close. So it's not too far off from what they did. But now when you talk about the base part of it, okay, how are we fitting, quarters and cover one, sounds like that's kind of what they want to live in. You got to have some safeties. You got to have safeties that they would play in the box, but also be able to come from out of the roof and get in the box. Everyone wants to play quarters. Everyone loves quarters, right? DB, we're defense coordinator. We go to a clinic in the spring. Everyone, yeah, we just play palms. We just play quarters. Yep, and we got 9 people in the box because my safety's going to fit once the tight end block. That stuff sounds good. It sounds great. But when we're getting hit with 6-7 yard runs, and we got need guys to come up and play fast. Now, okay, how are we going to cover that deep crossing route that we're going to get on Thursday night? How are we going to handle the tight end, in isolation routes or just going out and on drags and boots and getting out on the flats and on the edges. So, cover one gets you in a better position. You know who your man is, but it's just a lot of variance, a lot of different situations. I can see them in a little bit of both, but I firmly believe, I think on the back end, they got some skilled guys to be able to really say, hey, that's my man. You got him, I got him. Let's lock it up and play like dogs. And I think Butler's going to get creative. He's going to bring that NFL style 3rd down. If we give him the 3rd and 8, you're going to see a lot of people moving off the field. I think there's going to be some big guys coming off. You're going to see some skilled guys coming on, and he's going to get those guys. He understands, rush plans. You know what I mean? He understands how to get guys at isolation. We're going to stunt one side, but we're going to let our guy on the right side, let him eat on a one-on-one. Let's clog up the blocking concepts and things like that. So I'm interested to see it. I'm excited to see it, man. I'm really excited to see a kind of new evolution of this defense and where it goes, especially with the personnel they got. I tweeted that out kind of at the end of my summary that this is definitely one of the, looking on paper, looking at them, throughout the videos, this is one of the better looking front 7 groups we have had in a while. They look the part. They look like they can handle not only Big Ten football, but at the end of the day, if we want to get to where we go to, we got to handle the SEC. I think we got some guys that can, they can play. They got some skills. Here. Obviously, got to get some development, some experience. But I'm excited to see that front seven group.
I'm gonna let Ravi get into the particulars about body types and scheme because I know he's in, from a Judy to a Van Poppel to a Cam Lenhart to Nwaneri, Jalen George. You got a lot of different body types. I'll let him get to that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to before we get off of the quarters and the run fits. It's really important, I think, if we want to understand how Nebraska wants to stop the run. Coach Rule said something that was interesting. Philosophically, he's trying to, he doesn't love quarters, right? You heard him kind of
Mm-hmm.
say that, but you can't dabble in quarters coverage and still fit in the run game. Like you have to
Right.
practice if you're going to try to fit in the run game out of quarters. Ideally, what did you hear on how you think they want to play stylistically to stop the run and get into some one high versus what they may have to play? Like, what are the keys? How do you go from this is what we want to do versus man, this may be what we have to do? Because that's kind of what I heard when he said, I don't always let I don't know about the quarters and philosophical. Like, it's not his druthers. He
Mm-hmm.
prefers to lock up and run and play. What are those differences for you look like if Nebraska's being successful?
Zone man, simple, basic, day one, right? Risk reward, right? We got seven guys looking at the quarterback, in comparison to, one guy maybe on the spy or just the four rushers, right? Especially when you got the mobile quarterback we're going to face in Sourceby. I think you gotta, you want to play cover one a lot, but again, we need to have eyes on them, right? We need to have quarterback vision in our drops. A lot of things they do, passing game wise, as far as outside of the play action stuff, is a lot of quick stuff. Get the ball out their hands quick. So we want vision, right? Playing one on one, I think he throws the ball well enough, and they have two really good receivers on the outside that if we're caught in one on one situations and that ball's still in the right spot, these guys take it to the house. They got some dynamic guys. Caldwell kid from Lindenwood and I think the Allen Cyrus Allen, I think, came from Texas A&M.
Yeah,
Two guys that regularly go.
he's pretty fleet of foot. So my guy from
Right.
Linden, I'm not these some of these guys I get to know down there. I broke him down a chart about the production of his work. They're calling me a
Mm-hmm.
football nerd and all this other stuff. I'm like, look, man, he made a lot of his hay against not as good a competition, but he is a
Right.
productive player. When you look at how you think they got faster, right, in the
Mm-hmm.
offseason since I think that was intentional from Coach Satterfield.
Oh, for sure.
How do you think winning the one-on-ones with QB run game, because that's ultimately what it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be
Yep.
some concepts when you want to put your quarterback in the run game. How do you think Nebraska plays that when you think Cincinnati wants to get on them vertically?
If Cincinnati is getting on them vertically, then it's got to be with them establishing the run game. I,
Yeah,
I don't I don't see
I agree.
I don't see them. I don't see them just saying, "Hey, we're going to air this thing out." Because again, I think when they look at film, they do scouting with themselves. They're going to see. I mean, you got and Coach Butler talked about. We got three corners that we feel like are ones. You know what I mean? They're guys that can really run and play bump and run and get in your face and do what Coach Rule really wants to do, right? Which is be in that cover one shell a little bit more, right? Be up in your face. So, I think the biggest thing is going to be interior pressure. You got to find a way not only to contain them. That's a big thing we're talking. Keep the quarterback in the pocket, right? But the escape routes through the A and B gap is really where you get killed most. And now, again, going back to being in quarters and being in cover one, right? If we're in cover one, he escapes up inside the pocket, right? Who's accounted for him, right? We may have the linebacker on the back. We may be playing a robber with the safety, so he's looking for more deeper crossing routes, right? Obviously, got a deep safety who's up top, right? He's not going to get out the roof in time. So philosophically, again, that's where maybe hey, we may have to be a little more zone, right? A little bit more eyes, patterns, type things like that. But again, if they're going to attack vertically, it's got to be off. It's going to be off play action. I don't see them dropping him back into drop back. 20, 25 times. It's got to be with him setting it up and again accounting for his legs outside of the design stuff like you spoke about.
Can you see them getting busy without some sort of success with inside zone?
You're speaking on Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I think it's gotta. I think for them it's gotta be the triple. I think the triple is gonna be their biggest thing. Is running in that option. I think um, using their receivers in the run game. Off of those orbit motions and things like that. I think that's how you get to set up. Getting those safeties pulled up. Now if you talk about playing a quarter again. From at least what I saw in the two games, it looked to be more of a 12, 11 personnel type of team. So I don't
So,
see them getting
so
in.
you don't really see them with a tackle to tackle run game.
I don't. I
See,
don't, especially after the
I'm trying
comment
to
that the
figure
coach
out
made
how
about
else
their O
I'm
line not
trying to
being the.
figure out how they're going to keep Nebraska. So if you're talking like, how are they going to keep Nebraska off honest from gaming them up front if you don't threaten them from C gap to C gap?
You're smiling. I don't know what you're thinking. You don't. You can't.
You can't.
You can't. I mean, you can't. You can hope and pray. And I think what I mean, they've done that quite a bit. Is they dang near 7, 8 man protect. You know what I mean? I think that's what it's gonna be.
You know my demeanor.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how are you going to keep Nebraska honest defensively if you can't threaten them from tackle to tackle?
Right. Yeah, I don't see them being run inside. You know what I mean? If it's gonna be anything, it's gonna be off some misdirection, something with some eye candy, things like that. But just lining up 11 personnel and just say we're gonna run inside zone left, right. That's not I don't think that's gonna work. They're gonna cut the gaps up too much. And I think even on the one-on-one battles, and we heard the coach come out and say, O-line might be the weakest group on the team. And I think the ball's gonna get outside a lot. It's gonna get the ball to those guys quick and get it out of his hands. But again, it's gonna be a lot of designed runs, getting them involved. It's gonna have to be on the outside. Now, how do you get that back to the inside? Is if you overstress, right? Two guys getting to the quarterback or two guys getting out to the pitch guy. Now that's where the dive becomes. It kills us because we're so overly focused on taking away the quarterback or we're
And
taking away the pitch guy. So it kills us only if Nebraska does what they kill themselves. Right, they play undisciplined. They don't, whatever technique. Hey, we're gonna take away the dive at the end. Or, hey, we're gonna sit on the quarterback and force the dive. Which you got to play that game. It's probably gonna switch up in between, in between their sessions on the sideline. So only way I see them being a run inside and have success has got to be with something threatening to the outside, quarterback run game, things like that. Now, I will say they're really good at running quarterback draw. So if we talk about those
yeah,
NFL fronts, and they're not afraid to run on third and long. If we talk about those NFL fronts on third down, we got three defensive linemen, and you're shifted to one side. The sim pressures, all that stuff. You're very susceptible. What I mean, with a running quarterback, they come out and spread the formation out for those draws. So you got to be mindful of that. But I'm sure, Butler, we're gonna have a plan for a spy. I mean, you got enough backers. I'd love to see the sign. Hawk him down, run him down one time on a third down, throw the bones, and get us off the field. Because I mean, I know he's got to be a big part of making sure he's spotted and stayed in the pocket and use that length and his aggressiveness to go get him.
Michael, you brought up a couple things there that I wanted to get to. So you brought up the offensive line for Cincinnati, which I think is a huge question mark here. You got 4 new starters,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's a place that's going to be really interesting to watch. And then you brought up the quarterback draw. Do you think that if they're not confident in their offensive line, which it doesn't seem like they are,
Mm-hmm.
at least on here, do you think that quarterback draw can offset a little bit of what I anticipate Nebraska being able to reset that line of scrimmage?
Yeah, for sure. I think if you're not comfortable with your offensive line, they're not showing it early. And let's face it, it's going to be a home game for Nebraska. I mean, it's going to be rocking there Thursday. So a lot of communication is going to be needed on that group. But I think early on, if they're showing that they can't handle that pressure, a lot of screens, a lot of draws, they're going to get the ball out quick. And they have guys again, they can do something with the ball yards out the catch. But I think that has to be Nebraska plan. I think they have to feel confident enough that they're going to stop the run on the inside. We're going to play discipline on our assignments on the option football. And when we get those screen draw situations, we be prepared for it, how we cut up the gaps on the inside. Again, I think closing those B and A gaps is fine. We have the athletes, I think, that you can run with, Sworsley to the sideline if we flush them. There's some scheme stuff you can do, certain package you can do, blitz at one side, and we know, hey, we're forcing you to the boundary to the left. We're going to send 4 guys, 3 guys to the field side, and flush you to the right, knowing we have a spy there. Those type of things are kind of the game within the game, to where you spend a lot of time. What's our base package? But we really, as defensive guys, want to get to that third down menu, and now we really can dictate. Who's the aggressor? That's the big
especially
thing.
with especially how they can personnel it, right? They have so
Yeah.
many options in terms of combinations they can put on the field.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I do worry with them, I think they brought in 5 transfer receivers. I want to say 4 or 5 transfer receivers. So I wonder too, with it being the first game, crazy environment, you know, is the chemistry fully there for them to be able to really, be on the same page, that they would need to be, I think, in this first game. So that's one thing, I definitely want to see how they come together, as far as Cincinnati and their offense and how it works together. But definitely a lot of screens, draws. I think QB designs runs early on early third down situations to just get them going, get them confident.
Nebraska's got to be able to win on the perimeter too defensively. If
Yeah,
they're
yeah, because
they
the screening
if you
bubbles are going out
yeah,
there
if
too.
you can't win on the perimeter defensively, you could be in trouble.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But I think there's a physicality about this team again. I don't think we've at least I haven't seen it on film and seen it live in game action. But the physicality that's kind of buzzing, the aura that's coming from this team that I'm really excited to see them on all three levels, play physical and play fast and just play tough. You know what I mean? Just play tough. I think this is going to have some adversity. This game is going to have some up and down, especially for the defense. Just like you said, how they can personnel stuff. The personnel they do have, and I honestly I look back into their OC Brad Glenn. Has been successful at every turn he's been. He came into Cincinnati about 3 years ago. I think they're ranked 35th after being. I think they make continued progress in the offense, and everywhere he's been, he's produced some high level offenses. So that's the other part is not only getting the quarterback out of rhythm, but can they get Brad Glenn off his script? Because he's a guy they'll stick to it. I mean, he'll stick to it. He'll run his stuff, and he'll until they can hit that big play and get those big shots. So
That's a
um,
that's a great
definitely
point.
want to see kind of his, how he gets in rhythm and how he, keeps Sorsby composed. And I think again, going to be a ruckus environment. It's gonna be nice.
Michael, so you brought up something there, going back to the QB run and how Nebraska can
Mhm.
defend. Brought up something there about how you thought maybe they can send some guys to the boundary to try and contain Sorsby. We were watching a little bit of Pitt film earlier when they were playing North Carolina, mobile quarterback,
Mhm.
successful run team from last year,
Little undersized front.
and Pitt has
Mhm.
undersized front, same way, kind of the way we think Nebraska's going to have this year. And so I'm curious with Nebraska's personnel. We saw Pitt try and box the QB run game and get him to force back inside towards that
Right.
middle. Do you think Nebraska, with their personnel, will try and box back towards the middle where you've got like a Shavers and a Javen Wright or a Marquise Watson Trent, or you think they're going to try and spill the outside and try and let their defensive backs make those tackles? Does that depend on if they can actually play man on the outside?
Mhm.
If you're
they can
playing
zone
man,
out?
you're probably not spilling to
Yeah,
anyone.
you ain't spilling. Yeah, you
They're going
can't
to have
spill
to probably
anybody there.
box this thing.
Boxing, yeah. I mean, it's going to be situational. I think that again, I think he's more. I mean, he's made some plays and option in the C gap. But I think he's almost more dangerous in the A and Bs. And I think I would rather, if we're gonna be small, we're gonna be explosive front. We're gonna cut up the gap. The ball probably more than likely is gonna bounce outside. They're gonna let. I probably assume they're gonna let their backers run, let their safeties run. But like DB says, situation, you're in cover one. Those force guys got to make that ball go back inside because only overlap we have, and this is the thing about quarters, right? Rule said what he said about quarters, but the reason why people love quarters is because the overlap, right? We get
Yeah,
we get three
you get a
levels
little
of
bonus.
overlap.
Yep, you
Right.
get a
When they
bonus.
get to cover one, and especially when we start to get to 11 personnel spread formations, that's one gap, one track. Only time we're really moving DB is when that tight end goes across or we get a guard or tackle pull.
Yep.
So, it sounds good to say, hey, we're going to play one gap defense, we're going to play man to man, and we're going to be physical. When they start doing
It
this,
can be feast or famine.
right. When they start doing what they're going to do with the motion of the receiver, shifting into the formation, all those type of things, it gets difficult. I think that's another part. I think why Rule was talking about maybe having to play more quarters. They do a lot of fast motions where they'll push the tight end across fast and go right to outside zone. Push the tight end across fast, go to option. And I
That's
think if
where
you're playing in
leverage will matter, right?
exactly leverage and numbers.
I was showing these guys this morning, MRI, about the difference between leveraging the ball and leveraging the block. You
Yeah.
got to leverage the ball,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's you got to get to where you're going because I think Cincinnati will try to. It's not quick snap, but they are on you in a hurry with motion.
Right.
You cannot get out leveraged on the
Yeah.
perimeter.
Right. Can't get out leverage. And other thing with that, play cover one with those motions. I mean, you got to rock roll to safety. So you're giving a tail. I mean, I think it's a game within a game. You're trying to play chess. You know what I mean? Again, you're obviously playing against the quarterback as a ZC, but you got the defense, you got the OC, and then you got four probably guys up in the booth you are also working against as well. So that's something people don't think about that you got to be focused on.
One of the things I think is really exciting, why I wanted to talk to you is I got to go way back. I'm always following you on social media, and you said something when Nwaneri decided on Nebraska, right? He'd shut down the no contact, and the assumption
Mm-hmm.
was coming to Nebraska. You said almost immediately that Lincoln would be a good place for him to land from a I got the sense it was from a temperament standpoint, like an
Yep.
environment deal.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, MRI, he has come around and flourished faster than I think
Hmm.
almost anyone has thought. Right? If
Yeah.
you'd have asked me in spring, I'd have been like, got to kind of figure this out. And
Hmm.
all of a sudden, he's settled in. He talked about settling in and
Yeah.
having this camaraderie. What do you think was so important about his landing spot and why Nebraska is working, at least before game one?
Um, I say 2 to 3 things, and we talked about this when we worked together. When he came back for a little bit, and first off, Mosey being there, I think that's huge. Being
I
his high
talked to
school
him this
coach.
morning, man. I love that guy.
Yeah, yeah, that's my guy. That's my guy. Um, yeah, you know, he can cut up. He can cut up.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but Mosey being there and then Terry Braden.
Yeah.
He spoke so highly of Coach Terry, man. Like, and he said it, I think, in an interview, maybe in the press conference, where there's kind of like another father figure to him. I mean, the way, I mean, he kind of like lit up. You know, I just asked him, you know, being an NFL coach coming back to college, you know, kind of how does it feel for him? And he lit up. He's a great guy, holds them accountable, but keeps it real with them. You know, shows them that he cares about them outside of football. And when you get kids like that, that's all they need. You know what I mean? And I said it when I got interviewed. I forget who it was, and I said, I'm not teaching them anything. I'm making him more aware of what he does naturally. But that's a 5 tool guy, DB. I mean, it ain't much I got to teach him.
Isn't
Now,
it
it's the mental part, right? It's the
right?
mental. It's knowing that, hey, even if I don't perform, I'm still cared for, right? And I think he talked also about just the structure of Nebraska, and you know, just I'm no shot at Missouri. I know some Missouri coaches, but he just said it just wasn't structured like it is here. And
And
that should tell you what the difference that rules making, the administration's making, all the things that are going into not just the physical part of these athletes, but the mental part, right?
he
And
he
having
said
that set up
he
for
said
them.
he has to do some things here that we may not think of as part of the deal. It's more
Right.
off the field,
Yeah.
but he's actually learned to appreciate. That's all I needed to hear because I know what he's
Yeah.
talking about, right?
Hmm.
He, deep down, kids want to be led.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, you talk 5 tool, 6'7". He's about as un, I mean, he's like 278, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
But looks 250. That's the
right.
crazy part.
No, and don't humor me. Just keep it a buck. I know you will.
Uh,
I could see him in third and longs playing
mm,
in an interior anywhere from a shade to a 3. I
yeah.
could see him playing in a 6.
Hmm.
I could see him being an every down guy. Like,
Yeah.
is that exaggerating when you say 5 tool? I think I know what you mean. Do you
Hmm.
think I'm exaggerating when I say anywhere from a 1 to a 6 technique?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Anywhere.
Okay.
Especially
Okay.
in those third down situations. You know what I mean? I mean, I can see. I mean, I said it. I mean, he's got to produce like it. But DB, he gives me the Randy Gregory vibes, man. He
I
he, he
wondered if
gives
you'd
me
go
the
there.
he gives me the Randy Gregory vibes. And I'm just speaking strictly on field. Off the field, he's great. And Randy's my guy. He knows that's my
Yeah.
guy. But Randy he had his trials and tribulations, stuff like that. But
You didn't even
Williams,
want to say it. That's how I know you believe.
yeah, it's he gotta show it. He gotta produce it. But I mean, I think the sky's the limit for him. I mean, the sky's the limit for him, and I think again, being in an environment where people care about him, people are showing him the right way, giving him the right tools. I mean, this what we're talking about being explosive and movement. I mean, that's all he did in high school. I mean, that's what got him to where he was as far as recognition. He was moving, he was slaying across guys' face, and they weren't athletic to get with him. DB, right?
Yeah.
Keep it simple, right? Keep it simple. Slam him across the face or rush him up the field. But yeah, I think he adds some great tools. Yeah, I think he can be a 3 down guy. He can play all those downs and play all those spots. I'm interested to see will Butler, use him as a chess piece, or will he say, hey, we're gonna base you here, right? And maybe it's early on with stuff.
Right.
Maybe it continues throughout the year, but I wonder how much they're gonna use him, how much they're gonna expand his role, because I think he can. he can do it. Now he's got to be able to handle knowing the assignments, doing all the stuff right to be able to earn those opportunities. But I think, yeah, man, he gives me the Randy Gregory vibes, man. He looks like, walks like first round money. That's a guy, right? He can be a guy.
I'll get you out of this because I know you could appreciate it. I told our listening audience I was pleased. First, I was scared that they threw him out there in front of the media to grab the mic early. You could tell he didn't love it. He wasn't excited to be out there, but he got over the first hurdle
Right.
of having to talk to the media, man. I didn't quite shed a tear, but I'm not gonna kid you. I kind of stood up and cheered a little bit.
Yeah.
That's a big hurdle, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's a big hurdle, and for Nebraska to roll him out there, man, I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, no, he's growing. I think the whole just being in Lincoln and just a little bit more settled down. I think Columbia is, what I mean, and find the right people, right coaching staff. I mean, Rule's doing such a great job, man. And I mean, even obviously people know I've played in Nebraska, so they always ask me about Rule and stuff like that. And I mean, he's done so much for even the Elijah Judy thing, man, with the graduation stuff like that. Like just the I mean, he's one of the best, and I think obviously I want to see Nebraska win because I went there and all that, but just the level, the investment of people that Rule has brought. I mean, I'm not saying anybody deserves to win. No one deserves to win, but this program is it's close to it, right? It's close to it being deserving of having some good things go its way, and I think this year's gonna be good. There's a lot of predictions, a lot of stuff that's a little Kool-Aid, right? We got to make sure it's real, right? We got to make sure it's legit. But I'm excited.
Sugar free
for right now. But when we really get going, DB, we put the whole thing in there.
Or you use the big spoon.
Yeah, the big spoon. Yeah. Yep.
That's our guy, Michael Rose-Ivey.
Fantastic stuff, man.
Appreciate you guys, man.
Michael, you get back to class, man. So go start teaching.
Yes, sir.
We'll move you to Thursdays or Fridays on a regular week, man. You pick the
cool.
day.
Cool, man. Buddy. I appreciate you guys.
Yep.
It'll be great. Hey, see you guys on Thursday.
Yes, sir.